What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is the midweek market update where we look at sealed singles and slabs between $100 and $1,000. And I, as someone with over $25,000 invested into One Piece and over $200,000 invested into the TCG world, give you my opinion on things. So starting off, we'll look at a few sealed booster boxes that sold over the past week. OP13, this actually sold today, $223.50. I think this is definitely on the higher end. You can still find this box sub $200 fairly easily. I think stores in Canada, we're probably running up to around like 165, 170 at this point, which is very expensive for a mainline set out the gate, like a week or two after release. A lot of stores have already done their wave 2. Is there going to be a reprint sometime in 2026? More than likely. $223 entry point. It just doesn't feel great to me, but I understand long-term OP13. It's such a good set, guys. So try and find a good deal on OP13, get a little bit of exposure. Now after that, we do have a EBO2 booster box here, $259 USD. These are also creeping up. It's getting more difficult to find, at least here in Canada. A lot of stores, maybe a month ago, they were at around 200 USD. Now we're pushing like 210, 215 USD a lot of places. It's difficult to buy in case quantity for less than that. So keep an eye on EBO2. Big fan of the set. We will see at least one, maybe a couple cards from EBO2 showing up in this video as well. We have a Paramount War booster box, $305. This again, on the higher end for Paramount War. You can still find this box probably around like $250, $260. I'm not a huge fan of this set. It's decent. I like the Ace manga, but just compared to a lot of the other sets that Bandai has put out, it's just not that super high on my list in terms of rankings. And of course, it wouldn't be a midweek market update if we didn't see an Awakening of the New Era booster box, $425 here for a loose box. And this was definitely on the higher end. You can still see sales, auctions going on around $400, like $395 to $405. It is getting more difficult to find these boxes week over week. And we talked about this yesterday, I think a little bit too. On TCG Player, there's not a ton of boxes below like $400 USD. If you look at stores in Canada, it's very difficult to find multi-quantity below like, I don't know, 550 Canadian at this point. So again, continuing to dry up is OP05. That's kind of the story of sealed product right now. PRBO1, same sort of situation, $489 here for a booster box. This is the North American release since there is no for Asia stamp. On TCG Player, we're down to around 420 on these after the initial run up. I think we're back to around 480, 490, fairly consistent sales. I did see one sale today though at $400, so somebody got a deal there. Definitely underpriced their box. I'd say the average sale now, $475, $480, moving back towards $500. And then a couple more things here. This is the first anniversary English set. We normally don't talk about these too much on the channel, but they are going up in price. We're now seeing consistent sales over $800. You will see a couple of the cards in graded form here showing up later in the video. I think that anyone who bought these at MSRP, you are just absolutely laughing. Great investments. Actually probably outperformed all or most of the booster boxes over the past 6 to 8 months in One Piece. So a great sealed product there. And then finally, of course, Romance Dawn white bottom booster box, $918 USD. These are continuing to climb. I think I saw a sale on TCG Player for around $1,000, $980 or something like that. I can't remember exactly how much it went for, but I will also say too, when I look at my national One Piece group here in Canada, there were multiple people today looking to buy Romance Dawn booster boxes, which is not really a common thing. The person also said they were willing to pay market. I didn't ask them exactly what that meant, but I assume that means somewhere around like 3 to 3.3K USD. So people are continuing to try and pick up Romance Dawn. It makes sense to me. It's the first set. We're probably not getting more of it. And if you're moving into this hobby, speculating on some of the sealed products, that's probably one of the more obvious ones to go for, the first set ever released. And it has some decent cards as well. It's definitely not the best set, but it is respectable. Now, before we get into the singles and slabs, I did want to jump in here and say, if you guys are enjoying the content, you're getting value out of it, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below as well for the algorithm. It really does help out a ton getting these videos pushed out to more people. Also, If you are interested, I run a One Piece and Pokemon market spreadsheet. I do multiple updates every month. And then also, I do have links to consult calls in every description down below if you guys are looking to take your TCG investing to the next level and you need some help with it. So moving into the cards here, as always, we will go in ascending order, and there's going to be lots of new cards on the list this week, first timers here. So very exciting. Nami Treasure Rare, this has showed up a couple times, $114.50 ungraded. That's, I think, a fairly standard price for this card at this point. Then we have the Shanks PSA Magazine exclusive promo, PSA 10, $114.69. I know the pop on these is fairly high, 1,712 PSA 10s, but I just feel like in the future, this could be a card that's pushing $200. I'm not saying go out and buy these. I'm not saying it's going to happen in the next 2 months to 6 months, but I could see a world where this is like a $200 to $250 card if One Piece grows in popularity. Shanks, although he doesn't show up super often, he is very impactful when he does decide to arrive. So keep an eye on that card going forward. The Jewelry Bonnie SP, this is from Two Legends, I believe, $115.50 raw. I think that's a fairly standard sale there. We have a Nami here. This is the alternate art from Paramount War, PSA 10, $117.99 through Arizona TCG. This seems a little bit cheap in my mind. Maybe I'm just forgetting past sales, but I feel like this could be more in the future as well. I think it's a pretty decent and unique Nami artwork. Now moving on here, another interesting card here. This is a Dragon Ball Z and One Piece kind of collaboration card. This is from 2008. PSA 10 pop is 21, total pop is 28. And you can see in here, you have Goku, and I don't know all the Dragon Ball Z characters, but I see Zoro in here. I believe this is Robin. You have Chopper up here, and then you have Sanji as well. So pretty interesting collaboration card, $118.50. Nothing crazy in terms of price, but it has a little bit of value. We also have a Nami alternate art. This is from OP11. Pretty interesting artwork, $118.50. Then we have the Sakazuki, this PSA 10 from Paramount War. No, sorry, Kingdoms of Intrigue, OP04, $122.50. This is one of the cheaper raw SPs. I believe it's like $30, $35 raw. I don't ever think it's going to be super expensive, not a super popular character in the manga or anime. We have the Zoro alternate art from OP12. This is definitely a much more popular character in One Piece PSA 10 here, $132.50. I love this artwork as well. I think it is such a beautiful card, especially with Hawkeye Mihawk in the background. Charlotte Pudding SP from Two Legends as well, $185.50 Canadian. That's approximately $132.60 USD. Another interesting promo here. See, this is what I was saying. There's tons of new cards showing up on the list. We might have covered this once maybe in the past. You guys who have been around a while, let me know in the comments down below. This is the Luffy Japanese Saikyo Jump May 2024 promo card, PSA 10 pop, 608, total pop 750. This went for $146 USD. Nico Robin, this is the alternate art from OP12, $150 USD in a PSA 10. Then we have the Sanji Treasure Rare, again from OP12, $154.50. I believe this card is down to around $30 raw. Again, maybe in that range, might be a little bit more, a little bit less. Then we have a Sabo here. This is from OP13 in English. So this is probably one of the first ones out there. This went for $217.50 Canadian, which is approximately $155.50 USD. I'm actually a big fan of this card. I like it a lot. And considering this is probably one of the first ones on the market, it is kind of surprising to me that it only went for $155 US. I would have imagined would have went for like 200, 250, but hey, it's probably going to be a fairly cheap card if you want to pick it up. Then we have the Shonen Jump. This is the magazine exclusive Luffy PSA 10, $197.50 US. These have been absolutely tanking in price. I feel like last week when we looked at these, tons of sales at like $230. Now we're down sub $200 for the most part. Next week, if it keeps going, maybe it's going to be down to $150. Who knows where it's ultimately going to bottom out. It's definitely a cool artwork, but the PSA 10 pop is already climbing extremely fast, 1,511 PSA 10s out of 1,569 total graded cards. Then we have everybody's favorite One Piece character, Mr. 2 Bon Clay, doing the Nami impersonation here. PSA 10, this is from EBO 1, I believe, $295 Canadian. That's approximately $211 USD. We have a Gear 5 Luffy. This is from OPO 5 PSA 10, $245.50 through ZNG Emporium. Buggy Wanted poster from OPO 9. I love Buggy, but this is definitely not one of my favorite artworks. I'm just not a huge fan of this card. $247.50 in a PSA 10. I think there's probably going to be one or two more of the 09 Wanted posters showing up here later in the video. Then we have the Whitebeard Edward Newgate PSA 10. This is from Royal Blood. This is one of my, if not my favorite artwork in all of One Piece. I love this card so much. I think it's awesome. It's now up to $280 in a PSA 10, and I think that there's still room for this card to grow in the future. Honestly, pretty much every SP from Royal Blood I think has room to grow because those are extremely underrated in my opinion. Such beautiful cards. Now after that, we have the Japanese version of Nine Sword Style Asura Blades Drawn Dead Man's Game. I believe that's the name of it, if I remember correctly. PSA 10, 247 euros. Someone's going to roast me in the comments too if that's wrong, but 247 euros, that's approximately $286 USD. Kind of surprising that it's going for this much because I think like the English version was in the 300s, like high 300-ish range the last time we looked at it. I can't remember exactly. Someone can remind me in the comments down below, but this is definitely getting more expensive as time goes on. We have the Gear 2 alternate art here from OP11, $315. This one is definitely stabilizing. I think we saw this maybe up to like around $350 at its peak, and now it's selling fairly consistently in that range. We have the Shanks SP here. This is from PRBO2. This is actually Pop 1. So this is the first one out there. $317 USD for the PSA 10. It's definitely not my favorite Shanks artwork that Bandai has released, but it's still a very cool card. I wouldn't mind having one like that in my collection. Then speaking of the first anniversary cards, the first one showing up, we have the Nami here from the English version, PSA 10, $319 USD. Also, take note of the gem rates here. PSA 10 pop, 533 total pop, 592. We talked about this multiple times on the channel. If I can go back to the anniversary set here. When this was like $600, it just didn't make sense, even at that price, because the PSA 10s of all the cards from that set were going for an insane amount of money. So either the PSA 10 cards had to come down in price or the box would have had to go up in price. And we've seen it go up to around $800 now. I still think there's room for this box to get to like $1,000 in the short term. Long term, I don't know where it's ultimately going to end up, but keep an eye on that and the cards as well. Then we have the cute chopper here. This is from the Gift Collection 2023. PSA 10, $320. These are definitely going up in price as well. That's why you're also seeing a lot of the 2023 Gift Collection sell, like the sealed boxes. So keep an eye on that one moving into the holiday season. Then we have the Shanks Wanted poster from OPO9, $320 in a PSA 10 from Arizona TCG. Now moving on, we have the Nami alternate art. This is from Pillars of Strength. Not my favorite SP style. These artworks, $330.22 though in a PSA 10. Things are definitely ramping up in price now as we get later on in the video. Doflamingo here from Romance Dawn, the alt art leader, $350. Then we have the Stussy from OP11, another special rare. This PSA 10, $355. I feel like that is continuing to get more expensive. Then we have the pre-errata, or excuse me, not the pre-errata. This is the errata, so this is the fixed version of the Law from Romance Dawn. This went for $366. If this was pre-errata, it would be a lot more expensive. I feel like those are going for what, like $4,000, something in that range. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll see one show up this weekend when we do that update video. Treasure Rare Luffy here from Two Legends, $366.99 in a PSA 10. Fairly large multiple there on the PSA 10 because I think the raw copy is down to what, like 85, 90-ish dollars USD. So almost a 4x or a little over 4x there. We have Boa Hancock. This is the Japanese alternate art, special alternate art from Kingdoms of Intrigue, 610 Australian. That's approximately $397 USD. English version is going for somewhere between like $850 to $950 currently. Then we have another one of the English first anniversary set cards, Luffy here, PSA 9. So one thing to note about this, the Luffy actually has a very low PSA 10 rate here compared to a lot of the other cards. I think it's still like, what, 75% or something, which compared to a lot of other TCGs is still high. But in that set, I think a lot of the cards are above 85%. So this one is a little bit lower. Still, PSA 9, $440. You're basically getting half the value of the sealed box just from that Luffy. Then we have the SP Nami, this is from OPO5, PSA 10 here, $440.99. Not the best pictures, again, in my opinion. I feel like every video I have to harp on someone's listing. If you want to get top dollar, guys, try and take better photos. I mean, stuff in the background, whatever. At least it's a little bit clean, but still you have a lot of glare on the card and stuff. It's just a little bit difficult to see. Moving on, we have a Japanese BGS 10 Black Label, surprising. This is a Shirahoshi alternate art. This is from PRB01, I believe, might be PRB02. $455 there. I think in English, this card is like $100 raw, I'm pretty sure at this point. And of course, most of that value is tied to the fact that I believe it's become a very playable card with the new OP13 meta decks. Then we have another Japanese BGS 10 Black Label here. This is the Gold Dawn Kaido from PRB01, $510 USD. BBB Luffy promo here, PSA 10, $535. I remember when these were like $300, $350. Definitely good times. Moving on here, we have the Air Ace from OP13, $648. This card is definitely not getting cheaper, at least not yet, which is a little bit surprising to me, but hey, I've seen stranger things. Still in that $500-$600 range. It's looking like this is probably going to be a card that stays in the top 10 most expensive in OP13, especially with some of those 5 Elders, Gorosei cards falling off in price. We also have a Borsalino here, top 64 offline regional card, PSA 10, $692. I actually really like this artwork. It's a shame that Borsalino is not a super popular character in the manga or anime. Obviously plays an important role at times, but you know, compared to something like a Luffy, a Shanks, a Nami, just not going to be able to compete. Then after that here, we have the OP13 Treasure Campaign Pack Luffy. This one for $710. I do want to point out though, this is light played. If you go to the back of the card here, you can see there is some damage to the top corners. I've seen near mint copies still selling around like $900, $925. And I imagine that we might see a PSA 10 or a BGS 10 show up in one of these weekend videos. Silver's Rayleigh here. This is the English manga CGC 10, $745. Seems a little bit cheap, but it's also CGC, which is definitely not the most popular grading company, at least not in the One Piece realm. So kind of makes sense a little bit. I think the PSA 10s are going for $850 to like $1,000, maybe even up to $1,100 at this point. So this is definitely a little bit on the cheap end, in my opinion. Interesting card here. We have the Luffy. This is actually serialized, but in Chinese. And this is out of 255, I believe. This is number 110. This one for $750. So very expensive serialized Luffy. I think the English version of this card is out of 1,000? Out of 750? I can't remember exactly. You guys can let me know in the comments down below. Also, just a side note and a little bit of a follow-up to yesterday's video, just in regards to like alternate language. Again, like I always prefer English. I think English is the best, but there are going to be promo cards or exclusive artworks to other languages like Japanese, like simplified Chinese, etc. And if that's the only way that you can get that certain artwork, if it's a popular character, it looks good, it's not a massive pop like the Shonen Jump magazine cards, it can definitely perform well. So it's not that English is the end-all be-all. You definitely have to pick and choose and be smart about things if you are going for alternate languages. Then we have an English card here. This is the Portgas D Ace. This is the Championship 2025-2026 winner, card set 1, $751.97 in a BGS 9.5, and that was through ZNG Emporium, which is definitely showing up a lot more in the eBay auction section now that Probstein is gone. I've never heard anything bad about ZNG Emporium. I know they have a YouTube channel. They seem incredibly transparent. If you have had issues, obviously you can share it in the comments down below. But I feel like most people are happy with ZNG Emporium. So it's good to see that someone else is stepping up and taking on a lot more of the One Piece consignment, at least in North America. Another card here through ZNG Emporium. This is a BGS 9.5 as well. This is the Chopper from the 2025-2026 Championship winner set. $770 USD. We're getting up there in price on some of these cards. Sabo manga as well, OP13, $792 raw. Doesn't really surprise me that this card is now in this range. I think that they might even drop more in the future. I could definitely see these being like $400 or $500 raw, with maybe the Ace being a little bit more expensive than the Sabo, and then the Luffy being more expensive than both of them. And then we have the Boa Hancock here, SP from OP09, $850. I think at one point these were like $950, so not an all-time high, but still very expensive and a really great SP artwork. We have a Perona here as well. This is from the 2025-2026 Top Pack finalist. $860.69 directly from the PSA vault. PSA 10 pop on this, by the way, is 5 and total pop is 6. So this is definitely a very rare slab. We have the foil exclusive convention Luffy here, PSA 10, $861. This is starting to come down in price. I feel like we've seen this multiple times since its high of what, $1,200, $1,300 USD. Don't get me wrong, it's still a really awesome card. I love it a lot, but do I love it at $861 in a PSA 10? Not as much, not as much. When it was like $400, yeah, sure, that was a little bit better. Now, a couple more here to close out the video. We have the Reiju. This is from EBO2, as I alluded to. I guess it's probably going to be the only card from EBO2 that shows up. This is a PSA 10 though, and I believe the pop is 13. So PSA 10 pop 13, total pop 14. Fairly rare card here that doesn't get graded a ton. $870. Not the most expensive. I think we've seen the Boa Hancock show up for maybe like 1.1K, 1.05K in a PSA 10. Still, this is fairly expensive. Then we have the Zoro here, 3-on-3 Cup top prize card, PSA 10, $900. I love this card. I think it's awesome. PSA 10 pop, 115, total pop, 124. So not a huge pop here. There is a Japanese version of this card, and I can't remember exactly where it was from, so you guys can let me know as well if you remember. But I could definitely see this card being more expensive if One Piece continues to explode in popularity and we see more people come into the hobby. A couple more here. Japanese Dawn. This is actually a winner card, I believe. It's looking like it's from the Grand Asia Open, and this went for $900 in a BGS 9.5. I don't know the pop on this, but I imagine it is fairly low. Then we have the Nami here in English, this championship 2025-2026 top 64 card, $930 USD. PSA 10 pop, 331, total pop, 370. Shanks, this is the gold one from OP13. This is the Japanese version, $935 USD. English version, gonna be a lot more expensive than that, guys. Gum Gum Giant here. I love this card as well, by the way. It's from PRB02. This is actually the English version as well. BGS 10, probably not a ton of these out there. This went for 1,325 Canadian, which is approximately $947 USD. I believe the raw copy, we're still in like the 400 range. Maybe it's dropped a little bit down to like 385, 390. And then the final card today, we have the Law manga from Royal Blood, PSA 10 in English, $960. This is hands down the most undervalued card in the entire One Piece TCG. I have zero clue how this is a $960 card. It makes absolutely no sense to me. This should be at minimum a $5,000 card, probably more like a $50,000 to $100,000 card. And I'm definitely not saying that because I own a PSA 10 copy of this, guys. Definitely not. No, it is legit the best card in the game. Trust me. But all jokes aside, guys, that's going to be it for the video. If you got some value out of it, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. It genuinely helps out a ton getting these videos pushed out to more people. Also, if you are looking to take your TCG investing more seriously, console calls always going to be there, as well as the market spreadsheet. You can use the code ONEPIECE for 30% off. I do have affiliate links as well if you guys are planning to shop eBay, TCG Player, Hobbiesville. I would recommend holding off, especially if you are planning to buy something on TCG Player. until November 28th. They're going to be doing their Cyber Weekend sale. You're going to be able to get 10% back in-store credit. I believe last year it was up to $500, so you can get $50 back. I'm not sure if there's going to be a limit this year or not. We'll have to look into that later, but that will be a decent way to save a bit of money if you guys are starting and trying to find some deals in the One Piece TCG. So again, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next one.